Hey everyone, it's been a while. Lots going on. I'm going to talk about some of that. I've been learning a lot the last 4 months about what can go on in the financial realm relating to health and family, and lots to talk about there in upcoming episodes. But I just wanted to pop in today and give you some updates on the challenging financial times we're living in, and just really what we should be thinking about, what's going on, put some things in perspective. So good to be with you. And I just want to share with you. Well, first off, I want to say, um, if you want to stay on top of all this stuff, join us in the Simple Plan community. It's at facebook.com/groups/, Simple Plan community if you're not already a member there. It's free to join, and all this stuff gets posted in there. And we talk about all sorts of different topics regularly. So let's have a look here. There we go. So I just want to share with you, here's a few things we're going to see from the web, stuff I've been watching this week in the news. Interesting things. So Jerome Powell, he is the guy in charge of the Federal Reserve in the United States. They're the people that set interest rates and implement monetary policy down there. They are, you'll notice, I suppose the big news is this week, the Bank of Canada, for the first time in a year, did not raise interest rates when they made their regular announcement. Now, they were talking a while back, or at the last rise, that they thought, okay, we're going to be done. We won't have to do more. And so they stuck with that this time. But here's why I don't think that's going to hold. So the Federal Reserve is raising their rates, and they're going to raise them probably somewhat aggressively. We're going to hear more about that soon. And there's lots of reasons for that, but that's what's going on. So the problem for Canada is we can't really hold back and not raise our rates if the US is. Because even though we might be saying that, inflation rates are better than they were, and they are, they're still not good. In Canada, they were 5.9%. The problem is things can leak out all over. You can plug the hole, put your finger in the hole in the dike in one spot and say, okay, there you go. We're not going to raise the interest rates anymore. But then it starts springing out over here with the Canadian dollar, because the Canadian dollar responds to that as well. So if you go crushing or saying you're going to hold the line on the interest rates, the problem is there are many forces at play, and what will happen is the Canadian dollar will then be devalued, which is just as inflationary as anything else for everything that we buy that does not get produced in Canada, which of course is a lot of our food, and all. But we don't have that much manufacturing going on in Canada anymore. Cars are manufactured here, and obviously other things are, but the vast majority of things that fill the big stores like Walmart or the grocery stores, they come from elsewhere. And that stuff's denominated in US dollars. Also interesting to note that for those in our country's sad little oil policy who compel us to buy oil offshore, all that oil that we buy from the Saudis is paid for in US dollars. Okay, so this is part of the problem. The monetary policy, interest rates, and that they don't affect just one thing. So there you've got another aspect of inflation. Even though the interest rates have been held, our US dollar or our Canadian dollar is diving. So we really do need to be thinking about what are we going to do if interest rates stay high for a few years. I think we can expect that they will. And by the way, this isn't high. This is about historically normal, even slightly low. It's just we lived through 20 years of historically low rates. But I think we need to be planning for a few years of this what we're going to see is that while they will try to hold the line on rates, and rates may eventually come down a little bit at a time, they're not going to come down fast. They're not going to go down at anywhere near the rate that they went up. And it's a bit of a two-edged sword. It's not just bad. It's painful for people with mortgages and debt, and can be challenging for business that runs from debt. But it's great for savers. It's great for people that are retired that want to be able to get some semblance of income from their savings without taking any risk. But here's what's caused the problem, and is continuing to cause the problem. And by that, I don't mean the Prime Minister specifically, but it's our government policy of spending money. We've spent more money per person per year than at any other time in Canadian history over the last 4 years. And that's been going on globally. It was, and really this is round two. There was a massive round of it back in 2008 in parts of the world, and then basically the whole world through COVID, and they continue to. So even though we know that this inflation has been driven substantially by government spending, they're still trying to alleviate the painful effects of the new policies by dumping more money on people, whether it's the dental program or, there was some other giveaway that happened very recently. I mean, it's happening almost monthly that either your federal or your provincial government is sending some significant subset of the population, if not the entire population, a check. And that just adds to the inflationary effect. So, they're trying to alleviate the pain when unfortunately it's the painful medicine that we really need to be taking a swig of. All right, so, the good news is our inflation rate slowed to 5.9% in January, but food costs are continuing to rise. They're running at 11% year over year. And, they've got their fancy show going on down in Ottawa saying, oh, well, let's bring in the heads of all the grocery stores. It's the same game they played with oil pricing, with gasoline pricing. It makes them look like they're doing something when really it will accomplish nothing. And so that inflation rate is probably going to remain fairly stubborn there. The main reason is because the two main things that affect individual family inflation are food cost and energy costs. Not just because we directly use energy, but also because energy is used in everything. Unless you're growing something in your garden, it's getting shipped to you some way, somehow, whether it's, carrots coming from California, whether it's your Amazon Prime package or whatever it is, it's coming from quite possibly overseas or another country. It's coming by plane, it's coming by train, it's coming by truck, and those all are affected by the cost of energy. And what has been hammering away at our energy costs? Well, the price of oil has been down, and the price of gasoline has been down somewhat from its horrible high about 6 months ago. But the increase in the carbon tax happened recently again, and so that is driving up prices on everything yet again. So you get this kind of crazy thing where the government's taking away on one hand, or causing, things to cost more on one hand with things like the environmental policy, and then they're scooping up money and throwing it around elsewhere. And this really disrupts the natural economic cycle, which is what the banks are trying to, or the central banks are trying to get hold of. So I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for them. And so there you go. Soaring food prices and surging jobs. That's the thing. If we're trying to slow down the economy with these interest rate increases, you would expect to see jobs being filled, employers not looking for employees as much as they are. That's not happening because that has an inflationary effect on wages. And so we're not seeing that. So we're going to continue to see inflation as food and labor costs continue to rise. So we can't control these things. We just have to plan around them. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be looking at ways that you can plan for the long term to avoid the effects of taxation, to reduce your taxation, and to avoid the effects of both inflation and then what we in retirement we call longevity. Canadians say the greatest fear is running out of money in retirement, and we're going to be looking at how we can do the most that we can possibly do to control our particular circumstances and guard against the external forces that we don't have control over, which is, we like to say, control what you can and manage for what you can't control. So I hope you're having a good week. Spring is almost here. No doubt it's starting to crop up a bit in some of the warmer areas. So looking forward to that. And stay tuned to this channel for a whole bunch of different looks at how you can control your finances going forward. So I want to encourage you again, join the Simple Plan community. And if you want to stay abreast of things and you're not already subscribed, for sure subscribe to the newsletter. It's at go.getthesimpleplan.com/subscribe. Just go there, sign up, and you're going to get all this stuff in your email inbox every week. So go.getthesimpleplan.com/subscribe. Good to be with you. Thanks very much. Brad Macbeth here. We'll see you again soon.